everybody, and welcome back to Break Time Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around the theme of education. I have been a teacher all my life, and education fascinates me. And along my journey, I have met so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that you too can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Santosh Avvannavar. He's an alumnus of NITK, Surathkal, and IISc Bangalore. He's the CEO of QtSTEAM and mentor also to QtPi Robotics. He's an RJ, a columnist. He's a soft skills trainer. He's an author. He's a TEDx speaker. He's a trainer, a student and teacher trainer, and the list goes on and on and on. So why don't we just find out more about him through my conversation with him? Santosh, thank you so much for being here with me today. So just looking at all that you have done so far, I see that you're a writer, you have authored some books. So among your writings, Ekla, Cholo got rave reviews. So could you tell us a little more about it and what made it so unique?
Okay. First of all, namaskar to all your viewers, and thanks for this wonderful opportunity, madam. Every book of mine has a story behind it. To give you a little bird view about how Ekla Chalore came up, it was really quite dear to me because I was standing on a highway waiting for a bus to come, and unfortunately, for 2 hours there was not a sign that bus would come on the highway which I'm standing. And my worry was, in case I don't get a bus, I won't reach to a destination which I'm supposed to reach, and I'm stuck in a village which will not have a lodge facility, and probably have to stay back and asking somebody's help. After waiting for 2 hours plus, there's a car which comes and stops by and asks, "Do you need lift?" So I asked the driver, "Do I sit in the front or a back?" And the driver smiles at me and says, "Sir, whether you sit or in the front or in the rear seat, everybody still thinks me as a driver. Doesn't make difference. You sit anywhere you like to sit." So I sat next to him and started traveling, having the journey. So after I got down from the car, I thanked him, and then one idea flashed to me. Was like, okay, let's assume this was 1980, and there is a woman standing on a highway, and a person comes in the car and stops by and asks, "Do you need lift?" And woman would does the same thing what I did it. But then I thought, okay, people might think, okay, she's attractive or beautiful, that is why the men stopped a car, but there's no difference in grade about story. Then I made a little twist about this as I kept writing it down as I'm traveling to the other destination. That, okay, let's say if there's a transgender standing in 1980s, and a very progressive state like West Bengal, and a person comes in a car and stops by, and she agrees to sit in the car and he start driving. So my things were running in my mind was like, what would they speak, and why he would be interested in picking up a transgender, and why she's interested to go with a man who is an unknown to him, and what do they speak. So this was my initial setup of the story, and then I wanted to give a lot of an characterization to the character. The character name is Kusum in the story, and I happen to use Ekla Chalore poem written by Rabindranath Tagore, and wonderful story which tells you that how a person makes a choice and still sticks to the choice what person has chosen. And probably there's a story to all of us to tell. When you make a choice, don't worry about it, still walk ahead and do it. Maybe that is one of the inspiration has come to me, that I still try doing it, even irrespective of whether people like it, don't like it, acknowledges it, and I continue to try. Probably I see my lot of reflection in the Kusum story when I look back and think this is probably a book which probably a lot of characteristics of mine are seen in the character of Kusum.
Wow, that is really interesting and such a wonderful lesson that you learned. Especially, I mean, all of us face so many different choices, right? Every step of the way. That's amazing that you took a lesson learned and made it into a book. That's great. So moving on to your stint as a soft skills trainer. Yeah, you know, your bio says that you have addressed 60K students, 10K teachers. That's amazing. So how did this journey begin, Santosh?
Yeah, I think my first inspirational starting point has been a church where I've seen a lot of stories being told, where I felt they have been touched my heart. So it was Sister Agatha and Sister Victoria who were my school teachers to begin. Then eventually I have an aunt by Dr. Meena Chandavarkar who has been a very inspirational. She has probably pruned us at home that coming from a background of Konkani speaking, Marathi speaking woman, started teaching English in Kannada in Karnataka, and tried doing training for children there. So her methods of teaching were so impressive that people from other class would want to come and attend her class, because she made things, likable to people. So probably that, seeing that again and again, I think it somehow it got into our roots from childhood, and we grew up those ecosystem. And then there a lot of opportunity came, because I would go attend session with my aunt or somebody else, and then I started liking it. I tried it. So it started, let's say, officially like on records in 13 years, but it may be unofficially from childhood.
Wow, wow. Another interesting story. So, actually, the first time I met you was through QtPi. When you approached us to, introduce robotics in our schools, and the journey has continued. And how did you get started with QtPi? I mean, it seems so diverse. You're an author, you're a soft skills trainer, and now suddenly you're with a team of people doing robotics. So, how did
Yeah.
you come to this stage?
Yeah, one day got a call from a person whom I know, Mr. Raghunath Babu Are, who is happened to be one of the co-founder of QtPi now. He says like, I'm planning to move out of Microsoft and then join some company and become a co-founder. I was like, I was not able to digest the fact that he's doing so well in Microsoft. Why should he leave that comfort zone and get into something else? Then he says we can come down to Bangalore and meet us for a day or so. Then I met him and Mr. Jason Leo, another co-founder. I was very fascinated with the product, what they have it, their vision. I loved it. But then I told to Raghu immediately on the same day, I don't think I can work with the corporates, because I like so much being in academics. The school children gives a joy, and I like that the work gets over for us at 5 o'clock in the evening. And I have holidays or holidays, weekends or weekends in education, education system. But unlike in corporates, and plus I'm a kind of person who doesn't cannot rest until the work is over. So I said him, I'm going to be restless in case I'm going to join a corporate, and I'm going to be having tough time. So he kept pursuing me for pursuing for 6 months, and then he said, okay, I will, let's do a deal. You join for 3 months. If you don't like, you can move out. I said, are you sure? He says yes. And then I joined 3 months with a lot of hesitations, with a lot of questions in mind, thinking, am I doing it right? But however, I liked the product. And next is, he being my student at IISc Bangalore, has 1 year junior whom I helped in training and development. Somewhere I felt I should try. But there was a story which was striking my mind every time. That was, I happened to read it in one of the book. I don't know whether it's true. A very well-known scientist goes with his work and shows to his professor, saying that, "What do you think?" The professor is so pleased with the work, and then he says, "I'm so impressed with your work. I'm going to quit my teaching job and join you as a student and work with you in your lab." And that particular scientist who showed this work to the professor happened to be Mr. Newton, and the professor tells this story in his one of his writing. So I assume that story is true for my instance. Even I felt like, if Raghu is so thinking so right about something for helping the community build a community of STEM education, I thought, let me try. So in this process, I have ended up being with them almost like 5 years now. Journey which I said no, and to 3 months to 6 months to almost like 5 years. I think we should probably give a try when somebody gives you an offer. Yeah.
Nice. That's very brave of you, but wonderful. Yes, and I can vouch for the fact that QtPi does have an amazing product, and yeah. So I'm glad you took that job up. So moving on to the TED talks, you say you're a TEDx speaker. Why don't you tell us more about that and how you got started with that, and what kind of TED talks you do?
Yeah, because one of the skills I love is writing. Not about grammatically right writing, but I do write things. Then what happens to me many times, I see when I write, I think, I read a lot, and many times I feel a little restless if I don't put that idea in somewhere. Luckily, there is a YouTube channel which can present what I think, or I talk to people, and conversations can happen. But I want to present these ideas which are a little more unique, which I felt a lot of global people should hear these ideas across. Then one of the platform I was very fascinated, or still fascinated about, is the TEDx platform, where I see the uniqueness of this. I see is, I can talk my mind and present an idea which is very unique, and the people who are listeners are not supposed to ask questions to us. So I think this format was something very fascinating for me, because otherwise in any conferences you go or anywhere you go, there isn't going to be any questions about why you think that your idea is right. But here is a platform which says, okay, you present idea which you think is right, but others may not agree to you. That's fine. Yeah. So maybe that format I really enjoyed, and it was like crisp 18 minutes. You have to present your ideas. Um, and I felt I got a lot of opportunities to do it. So from one TEDx, it got converted to 10 TEDx IIS platform, and I'm very happy. I'm hoping to have more in the future.
Wonderful. So, what kind of topics have you spoken on at these TEDx conferences?
Okay, just to give you probably a couple of examples. One was like I did quite a lot number of research trying to understand what makes somebody successful and why do you think they're going to be successful, especially in terms of some qualities which will work with them. So my 7 years of talking to people, writing them, reading, and looking into research papers, I identified 6 important skills. I felt they are very important. They look very simple and basic, but I found the complexity is so high. As simple to give it just as like the first skills I according to me is very important for anybody is to do writing skills, because when we write, we think, we read, and we are supposed to be writing things what we do both. So because of one skill you will do two more things. One, like I basically ask a simple question to everybody is, when was the first time you learned to write? So they might say I'm grade 1, grade 2, grade something like that. So many times people still learn to write how to write. So another context what I'm trying to say is, many times it is so the first time you learn to write, perhaps that was the last time you learned to write how to write. Many times we have not learned to write again how to write. So we don't ask question to people like how do I write physics, how to write mathematics, because every subject we learn in school has a writing styles and we don't learn it. So that is one of the story of TEDx which happened, has an idea which got converted, presenting about what makes somebody successful if they have to work on skills pattern. So like this many other ideas which became a part of TEDx event.
Very interesting, Santosh. Really nice, nice thoughts. So you have done so much. You really remind me of my dad. He had his fingers and toes in every area, and he also believed that if you get an idea, just go with it. Don't wait. So, how do you plan to retire? What do you think that time will ever come?
Yeah, yeah. One of my I had this always question. Okay, if I have to tell example to somebody, how do I relate myself? Probably an example I think can think of Dr. Abdul Kalam. I love the way it ended. His story or his life is like being working continuously, being on field or trying to do what he loves doing it. If I'm correctly remember, he was in IM Shillong. If I giving a lecture, and unfortunately we lost him in that moment. So I have a very interesting idea, which probably in maybe in 3 or 5 years for a time, I'm going to experiment it for 10 years. The idea is this. I would like to approach to, let's say, about 10 schools in the India, in the hill stations, which has a lot of creative space. And I want to work with them for 11 months. And I want to go to 10 schools like this. And every school, what I learn or I do things with them, I want to write a book out of it and present that is probably in a larger platform like TEDx or something else in the future to come. Probably that is an experimentation which I want to do it. I'm not very sure how many schools would like the idea of what I'm talking, but I would like to have a question to every school is like, would you like to take me for 11 months and experiment on my idea which I want to do with your schools, where I will train your teachers and students on soft skills, and I will write story about what I think, and I'll publish this as a book in 10 years from now. So are you open for this kind of experiment? Yeah. So that would be probably my ideal way of looking at in retirement. Yeah.
Very nice. So before we end, you mentioned soft skills and doing it in schools, and this is something that really I have been reading about. We focus so much on academics and sometimes certain extracurricular activities, but we're not really focusing on soft skills. So, before we end this conversation, could you tell us why you think it's important that we need to teach soft skills to students in schools?
Yeah, I think humans is only one particular kind of an thing which is given by God. I would say like the kind of creations which is there, where we rely on communication, and it has connected to a lot of other aspect of it. So I feel in case we want to make a happy world and want to make a peaceful world, these skills are very important because I think hard skills we can still learn through some process in some ways, which is not very difficult. It might cost us time or money, and maybe some people helping us do it, and that is solvable. But what is required is like, okay, I can solve, but can I make it people feel nice and happy about what I solve? So if there is no community outreach among humans, I don't think any great ideas look greater than humans' connections. So I think uh, like being connected and showing them that what we do with hard skills has to be through always a soft skills wise.
Wonderful. Thank you, Santosh. Thank you so much, and all the best on your journey. And I'm curious to know what your next step will be. But as of now, enjoying what you're doing, and all the best. And I hope to have you back on this platform with the rest of the QtPi team to learn more about the robotics. Thank you again, Santosh, and bye for now.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Namaskar.